My mom told me, it's only fair if your sister goes down the aisle before you. So my fiancé planned the most expensive wedding they couldn't back out of. I'd been engaged to Theo for 6 months when my younger sister announced she was getting married to a guy she'd known for 8 weeks. Mom called me immediately. You need to postpone, she said, like it was already decided. Your sister deserves her moment. She's never had your success, your looks, your opportunities. Let her have this. I'd heard this my entire life. When I made honor roll, they praised her participation trophy. When I got into Yale, they threw her a party for community college acceptance. When I landed my dream job, they reminded me not to make her feel bad about working retail. We're getting married in June, I said. We've already booked the venue. Then move it to next year, Mom replied. Family comes first. That night, I told Theo what they'd demanded. He listened quietly, his jaw tightening with each word. Then he smiled in a way I'd never seen before. How much is in your parents' retirement fund? He asked. About $340,000. Why? And they've been promising to contribute $50,000 to our wedding, right? I nodded slowly. Over the next 3 weeks, Theo became a wedding planning tornado. He booked the Rosewood Estate, the most prestigious venue in 3 counties. Reserved it for the exact same weekend my sister had chosen. Put down a non-refundable deposit of $45,000. He hired the celebrity florist who'd done the governor's daughter's wedding, contracted the orchestra that performed at the Kennedy Center, ordered custom Vera Wang dresses for the bridal party. The total came to $287,000. When the first invoices arrived, my parents called in a panic. This is completely unreasonable, Dad sputtered. We agreed to help, not fund a royal wedding. The contracts are signed, Theo said smoothly. Cancellation means losing everything, but don't worry, we can handle it ourselves if the money's a problem. Mom's voice turned sharp. We're not backing out. We made a commitment. My sister's wedding was smaller, quieter. The community center instead of an estate. A DJ instead of an orchestra. Mom kept suggesting they postpone, find a better date, but my sister refused to budge. You're just trying to make me wait for her again, she screamed during one family dinner. Like always. A week before both weddings, my parents' financial advisor called them. Apparently, pulling $50,000 from their retirement fund triggered massive penalties and taxes they hadn't anticipated. Between that and the wedding expenses they'd committed to, they'd drained nearly everything. You're destroying us, Mom said when she cornered me at the final fitting. Your father might have to keep working another 10 years. Do you even care? Did you care when you asked me to give up my wedding? I replied quietly. She had no answer. The morning of my wedding, I woke to 17 missed calls. My sister's venue had double booked. A pipe had burst. The whole building was flooded. She was sobbing, hysterical. Can we use your venue? She begged. Just for the ceremony? Please? Theo squeezed my hand as I held the phone. For a long moment, I didn't speak. I thought about every birthday overshadowed by her tantrums, every achievement diminished to spare her feelings, every sacrifice demanded in the name of fairness. I'm sorry, I said finally. The venue's booked. There's no room. She hung up screaming. Our wedding was perfect. 300 guests, 7-course dinner, champagne tower. As I danced with my new husband, I saw my parents sitting alone at their table, looking older than I'd ever seen them. They hadn't spoken to me since the ceremony. We left for our honeymoon in Bali that night. 2 weeks of paradise. When we returned, I found a letter waiting from my sister. But what it said changed everything. The envelope was thick, expensive cream paper. My sister had always loved the finer things she could never quite afford on her retail salary. I almost threw it away unopened. Theo watched me turn it over in my hands. You should read it, he said. I tore it open. 3 pages. Handwritten. Her loops were shaky, erratic. I know you won't believe this. I know you hate me. But I need you to know the truth before it's too late. Brandon left me 2 days after your wedding, took everything from our joint account and disappeared. Turns out he was already married, has been for 6 years, to someone in Nevada. I was just the other woman and I didn't even know it. Mom and Dad won't help. They said they have no money left after your wedding, that I made my bed and now I have to lie in it. I'm 3 months pregnant. I found out the day after he left. I don't know what to do. I have $600 in my account and I'm about to lose my apartment. Work fired me because I've been too upset to function. I know I don't deserve your help. I know I've been terrible. But you're all I have left, please. I read it twice, then a third time. Theo leaned over my shoulder. It could be fake, he said quietly. A manipulation. It's not. I recognized the desperation in her handwriting, the way the ink bled where tears had fallen. This is real. I called Mom. She picked up on the 6th ring. What do you want? Her voice was ice. Is it true? About my sister? Silence stretched between us. Then, she made her choices. She's pregnant and homeless. Then she should have thought about that before stealing your spotlight. You told me family comes first, I said. Those were your exact words. That was different. How? Mom hung up. I sat on my couch, staring at the letter. Theo made coffee, waited. He didn't push. Finally, I said, I need to see her. She was living in a motel on Route 9, the kind where you pay by the week and don't ask questions. Room 14. The door was warped, the paint peeling. I knocked 3 times before she opened it. She looked terrible. Hair unwashed, face swollen, wearing the same shirt I'd seen her in 2 weeks ago. The room behind her was barely bigger than a closet. 1 bed, a microwave, a mini fridge humming loudly in the corner. You came, she whispered. Show me the pregnancy test. She produced it from her purse. 3 different brands, all positive, plus an ultrasound printout dated 4 days ago. 8 weeks, 2 days. And the bank statements. She handed those over too. Her joint account showed a balance of $42,000 on a Tuesday. By Wednesday, it was empty. Brandon had withdrawn everything in cash from 3 different ATMs across 2 states. Police report? They said it's a civil matter since his name was on the account. Her voice cracked. They won't do anything. I studied the paperwork. Everything checked out. My sister, the one who'd been handed everything our entire childhood, was completely destroyed. Part of me felt satisfied, the vindication I'd wanted my whole life. But another part, smaller and quieter, just felt tired. Pack your things, I said. She stared. What? You heard me. Pack. You're not staying here. I can't pay you back. I have nothing. I didn't ask you to. She started crying then, ugly sobs that shook her whole body. I stood in the doorway, watching her stuff clothes into a garbage bag because she didn't even have a suitcase. This was my sister, the golden child who'd gotten every advantage and squandered them all. Theo was waiting in the car. When he saw her, his expression didn't change. He just popped the trunk and helped load her things. Thank you, my sister whispered as we pulled away from the motel. Theo met my eyes in the rearview mirror but said nothing. She stayed in our guest room. The first week, she barely left it. I'd hear her crying through the walls at night. Theo worked from home, keeping an eye on her when I was at the office. He'd make her lunch, leave it outside her door. You don't have to be nice to her, I told him one evening. I'm not doing it for her, he replied. I'm doing it for you. Week 2, she emerged more. Started eating meals with us. The conversation was stilted, awkward. We talked about weather, about the news. Never about our parents or the wedding or Brandon. Then one morning, I found her in the kitchen at 6 a.m., making breakfast. Eggs, toast, coffee. She set 3 places at the table. Morning, she said quietly. We ate in silence. But it was a different kind of silence. Less hostile. Just empty. After breakfast, she cleared the dishes without being asked. I need to find a job, she said. I can't just stay here doing nothing. What kind of work do you want? She laughed bitterly. I worked retail for 8 years, that's all I know. You have a college degree. Community college. In general studies. That and $3 gets me a coffee. I thought about that. About how our parents had praised her participation when she'd gotten into community college, then never pushed her to do more. How they'd celebrated her retail job like it was a career. How they'd set her up for this exact moment of helplessness. What did you want to do? I asked. Before, when you were younger. She stared at her coffee. Interior design. I used to spend hours watching those home renovation shows. Made sketchbooks full of room layouts and color palettes. She shrugged. But Dad said it was a hobby, not a real job. That I should focus on finding a good husband who could support me. Do you still have those sketchbooks? I threw them away years ago. Brandon said they took up too much space. Of course he did. That afternoon, I came home with enrollment forms for the community college design program. Evening classes, twice a week. $3,400 per semester. My sister looked at the papers like they might bite her. I can't afford this. Consider it a loan. You can pay me back when you're established. Why are you doing this? I didn't have a good answer. Maybe because watching her broken like this didn't feel as satisfying as I'd imagined. Maybe because I was tired of the cycle our parents had created. Maybe because spite had gotten me a perfect wedding but had cost me something I couldn't name. Just say thank you, Theo said from the doorway. Thank you, she whispered. She started classes 3 weeks later. At first, I'd hear her pacing her room at night, anxiety keeping her awake. But gradually, she came alive in a way I'd never seen. She'd show me her assignments, eyes bright, talking about feng shui and accent walls and natural lighting. Look at this color palette I created, she'd say, spreading fabric swatches across our dining table. The professor said it showed real understanding of complementary tones. For the first time in my life, my sister had something that was hers. Not handed to her. Not diminished to make me feel better. Just hers. Meanwhile, my parents called every few weeks. Always the same conversation. This is your fault, Mom would say. If you hadn't been so selfish with your wedding, we'd have money to help your sister. She's fine, I'd reply. How would you know? She won't return our calls. Because she's living with me. Silence. Then, you're helping her? After what she did? After what you did, you mean? Mom would sputter, launch into a speech about respect and family obligation. I'd let her talk herself out, then hang up. Dad tried a different approach. Called to apologize. Said they'd made mistakes. Could we all just move past this? But when I asked if he was sorry for demanding I postpone my wedding, he got defensive. That was different. We were trying to protect your sister's feelings. By trampling mine? You've always been stronger. You can handle it. That was the problem. I could handle it. So they'd made it my job to handle everything. My job to be smaller so my sister could feel bigger. My job to succeed quietly so she wouldn't feel like a failure. My job to sacrifice so she could have. And where had it gotten her? 26, pregnant and abandoned with no skills and no support system except the sister she'd spent a lifetime competing with. I'm done protecting her feelings at the expense of my own, I told Dad. And I'm done with you. He called back 17 times that day. I blocked his number. My sister's pregnancy progressed. We turned the home office into a nursery. Theo painted it a soft yellow while my sister picked out furniture. She cried when we assembled the crib. I don't deserve this, she said. Probably not, I agreed. But the baby does. She laughed through her tears. At her 20-week ultrasound, we learned she was having a girl. The technician asked if she wanted to know the name. I'm not sure yet, my sister said, looking at me. Can I think about it? 2 days later, she knocked on my bedroom door at midnight. Theo was already asleep. I want to name her after you, she whispered. If that's okay. I sat up. Why? Because you saved us when no one else would. She touched her stomach. I want her to grow up like you. Strong, independent, not like me. You're getting stronger every day. Because of you. We sat in the dark hallway outside my bedroom. Finally, I said, I don't want you to name her after me. I want you to name her something that means new beginning, fresh start, whatever that is to you. She thought for a long time. Hope. I want to name her Hope. That's perfect. Hope arrived on a Tuesday in October. 7 pounds, 4 ounces. My sister labored for 19 hours. I stayed the whole time, held her hand, counted contractions. Theo waited in the corridor with terrible coffee and a bag of my sister's favorite snacks. When Hope finally emerged, screaming and red-faced, my sister looked at me with exhausted wonder. "She's here," she whispered. "She's really here." I cut the umbilical cord, watched the nurses clean her, wrap her, hand her to my sister. This tiny creature who'd never asked to be born into this mess, who represented both an ending and a beginning. My sister couldn't stop crying, happy tears this time. "Thank you," she kept saying. "Thank you, thank you, thank you." We brought them home 3 days later. My sister was terrified, convinced she'd break the baby somehow. I showed her how to swaddle, how to burp, how to change diapers, things I'd learned from helping with my colleagues' children at work. "You're so good at this," she said, watching me rock Hope to sleep. "You will be too." "I don't know. I'm not good at anything." "That's not true. Name one thing I'm good at." I thought about it. Really thought. "You're good at loving people, even when they don't deserve it. You spent your whole childhood trying to win mom and dad's approval, even though they set you up to fail. That's not weakness. That's hope. That's persistence." She stared at me. "I never thought about it that way." Start. Over the next months, my sister transformed. She hired a lawyer who managed to track Brandon to Nevada and file a child support claim. It would take time, but at least it was started. She finished her first semester of design school with a 3.8 GPA, started freelancing, doing small design consultations for friends and family. Well, not our family. Our parents had stopped calling entirely. Then one afternoon, my sister came home from class looking shaken. She set Hope's carrier down carefully, hands trembling. "What happened?" I asked. "I saw Mom. At the grocery store." I waited. She looked. My sister struggled for words. Old, tired, her hair's gone completely gray. She was using a cane. And? She asked about Hope, wanted to see pictures. I showed her one and she just started crying in the middle of the produce section. "What did you say?" "Nothing. I just left." "But," she paused. I felt bad for her. "That's the trap," I said quietly. "They make you feel bad for setting boundaries." "I know, but she's still my mom. She's still the person who asked me to postpone my wedding, who told you to sleep in the bed you made when you were homeless and pregnant, who chose her retirement fund over both her daughters." My sister nodded slowly. "You're right. I know you're right." She looked at Hope sleeping peacefully. "But what kind of example am I setting for her? Cutting off her grandparents?" "The kind that shows her self-respect has value." But I could see the conflict in her eyes, the old patterns pulling at her. A week later, I came home to find my sister video calling with our parents. Hope was on her lap, and Mom and Dad were cooing through the screen. "Look how big she's gotten," Mom was saying. My sister saw me and went pale. She ended the call quickly. "I'm sorry," she said. "They called and I answered. It's your choice. You're mad. I'm disappointed. But it's still your choice." That night, Theo found me on the back porch, staring at nothing. "Want to talk about it?" he asked. "She's going to let them back in. I can feel it." "Maybe. After everything they did. Everything they didn't do." Theo sat beside me. "You can't control her choices. You can only control yours. I saved her. I gave her a place to live, paid for her school, helped her with Hope. And she's going to forgive them like none of it mattered. Is that why you helped her? To prove a point?" I thought about that. Really thought. Maybe at first. But no. Somewhere along the way, it became about her. About Hope. About breaking the cycle. Then you succeeded. What she does with that is up to her. Over the next month, my sister's calls with our parents increased. Once a week, then twice, then every few days. She'd take Hope into her room and close the door. I'd hear her laughing, talking, sharing stories. One evening, she approached me nervously. "Mom and Dad want to visit, to meet Hope in person." "Here?" "They suggested a restaurant, neutral ground." "And you want to go?" "I want to try. For Hope. She deserves to have grandparents. She deserves grandparents who show up, who don't abandon her mother when things get hard. People can change. Can they?" My sister looked at me with something like pity. "I used to be so jealous of you. Your success, your confidence, your perfect life. But now I see it. You're just as trapped as I was. Just in a different cage." Her words hit like a slap. "What's that supposed to mean? You're so focused on what they did wrong that you can't see anything else. Mom and Dad messed up. Badly. But holding on to that anger isn't hurting them. It's hurting you. I'm not angry. Yes, you are. And you have every right to be. But at some point, you have to decide if you want to be right or if you want to be happy." She met them the following Saturday. Took Hope to brunch at the Riverside Inn. Was gone for 3 hours. When she came back, she was crying again. "What happened?" I asked. "They apologized. Really apologized. Said they'd been terrible parents and they wanted to do better. And you believe them?" "I don't know, but I want to try." Over the following weeks, my parents became regular fixtures in my sister's life. They'd visit twice a week, always when I was at work. They'd bring gifts for Hope, help with grocery shopping, babysit so my sister could study. They never asked about me. I pretended not to care, threw myself into work, took on extra projects, stayed late, came home exhausted. Theo watched me carefully but said nothing. Then one Sunday, I came home early from a work emergency to find my parents in my living room, playing with Hope on the floor. My sister was in the kitchen, making coffee. I froze in the doorway. Dad looked up first. His eyes widened. "Sweetheart, we didn't know you'd be home." Mom stood slowly using her cane. She looked exactly as my sister had described. Old, tired, gray. "We should go," she said quickly. "No," I said. "This is my house. If anyone's leaving, it's me." I turned to walk out. My sister called after me. "Wait, please. You brought them into my house without asking." "I know. I'm sorry, but we need to talk. All of us. We have nothing to talk about. Please." Her voice broke. Just give them 5 minutes. I wanted to refuse, to make them leave, to prove that I didn't need their apologies or their presence. But Theo touched my shoulder gently. 5 minutes, he said quietly. What's the harm? So I sat, across from my parents, in my own living room, and waited. Dad spoke first. His voice was hoarse, uncertain. We were terrible parents. To both of you, but especially to you. I said nothing. Mom continued. We thought we were helping your sister, protecting her, but we were really just teaching her to be helpless. And we taught you that your needs didn't matter, that you had to be perfect and small and accommodating so she could exist. Great. Thanks for the summary. Can I go now? Please let us finish, Dad said. We know we don't deserve forgiveness. We drained our retirement trying to keep up appearances with your wedding. We're both working now. I'm 68. Your mother is 65. We'll be working until we die, probably. That's not my fault. We know. We're not asking for money or help. We're just asking for a chance. I looked at my sister. She was crying silently, holding hope. A chance to what? I asked. To be better, Mom said. To show you that we can change. That we can be the parents you deserved all along. I laughed. It came out bitter, sharp. You had my entire childhood to be those parents. Where were you when I needed you? When I was working 3 jobs to afford Yale because you spent my college fund on my sister's therapist? When I made partner at 29 and you didn't even send a card? When I got engaged and you immediately made it about her? We were wrong, Dad said. About all of it. We see that now. What changed? Why now? Mom looked at Hope, watching your sister with her, seeing her break the cycle. It made us realize what we'd done, how we'd poisoned our entire family with our favoritism and manipulation. You're only apologizing because your favorite daughter called you out. Yes, Mom said simply. That's exactly right. We're selfish enough that we didn't see the problem until it affected her, but we're here now, and we're sorry. I sat there, looking at these people who'd raised me, who'd made my childhood a constant competition I didn't know I was losing, who'd taken every accomplishment and dimmed it to make my sister feel better about her failures. Part of me wanted to scream at them, to list every hurt, every slight, every moment of casual cruelty disguised as fairness. But another part was just tired. I don't forgive you, I said finally. I don't know if I ever will, but I won't stop my sister from having a relationship with you. This is her home too now. If she wants you here, that's her choice. Thank you, Dad whispered. Don't thank me. I'm not doing this for you. I'm doing it because my sister's right. Holding on to this anger isn't hurting you. It's hurting me, and I'm tired of being hurt. They left shortly after. My sister hugged them at the door. Mom tried to hug me. I stepped back. Maybe someday, I said, but not today. After they left, my sister and I sat in silence. Hope had fallen asleep, tiny fist curled against her cheek. I'm sorry I ambushed you, my sister said finally. I know. Are you going to kick me out? No. Why not? I betrayed your trust. I thought about it, really thought. Because you're not them. You're trying. And that matters. She started crying again. I don't deserve you. Probably not. But Hope does. And I'm not doing this for you. I'm doing it for her. It wasn't forgiveness, exactly. But it was something. A crack in the wall I'd built. Over the next months, things shifted slowly. My parents visited weekly. I'd leave when they arrived, come back after they left. We'd pass in doorways, exchange stiff greetings. Nothing more. Then one Sunday, I came home to find my mother alone in the kitchen, making soup. My sister had taken Hope to a baby class. I didn't know you'd be back so early, Mom said, startled. I can leave. No, stay, please. I wanted to talk to you. Alone. I leaned against the doorframe, arms crossed. So talk. Mom set down her spoon, turned to face me. I need you to understand something. What we did to you. It wasn't because we loved your sister more. It was because we were afraid. Of what? Of you. Of how capable you were. From the time you were small, you were so independent, so self-sufficient. You'd figure things out on your own, solve your own problems. We didn't think you needed us. So you ignored me. We took you for granted. Your sister struggled with everything. School, friends, self-esteem. She needed constant attention, constant support. And you were just fine. So we focused on her. And by the time we realized what we'd done, the pattern was set. That's not an excuse. I know. I'm not making excuses. I'm trying to explain. We failed you because we assumed you were too strong to be hurt by our neglect. And that was our mistake. Our terrible, unforgivable mistake. I felt something crack inside my chest. I wasn't too strong. I was just good at pretending. I know that now. We stood there in my kitchen, this woman who'd birthed me and broken me in equal measure. I wanted to hate her. Part of me did. But another part just saw an old woman who'd made terrible choices and was trying, too late, to make them right. I'm not ready to forgive you, I said. I understand. But I'm not ready to cut you off completely either. Mom's eyes filled with tears. That's more than I deserve. Yes, I agreed. It is. After that, things changed incrementally. I stopped leaving when my parents visited, started staying in the room, listening to their conversations with my sister, watching them with Hope. They were good grandparents, attentive, patient, everything they hadn't been as parents. One evening, Dad asked about my work, a genuine question, not performative. I answered briefly. He asked follow-up questions, seemed actually interested. It was strange, uncomfortable, but not terrible. Weeks became months. My sister graduated from her design program with honor, started getting real clients, charging real money, saved enough to move into her own apartment, a small one-bedroom 10 minutes away. I'll never be able to repay you, she said while packing. I don't want repayment. What do you want? I thought about that. I want you to be happy and stable, and to raise Hope to know her own worth. I can do that. The day she moved out, the house felt empty. Theo and I sat in the guest room, now cleared of all her things. You okay? He asked. I think so. You did a good thing, did I? Or did I just prove I'm the same person they made me? The one who has to fix everything? You chose to help her. They demanded you sacrifice for her. That's different. Maybe it was. Maybe I'd broken the cycle after all. Not through revenge or spite, but through choosing kindness when I could have chosen cruelty. My parents asked to take me to lunch. Just me, not my sister. I almost said no, but Theo encouraged me. What's the worst that could happen? He asked. They could apologize again and I might actually forgive them. Would that be so terrible? I didn't answer. We met at a small cafe downtown. Mom and Dad looked nervous. They ordered coffee, barely touched it. Finally, Dad said, "We want to give you something." He slid an envelope across the table. Inside was a check for $50,000. What is this? It's what we owe you, for your wedding. We borrowed against the house, worked extra shifts. It took us a year, but we got it. I stared at the check. I don't want your money. It's not about what you want. It's about what's right. We made a promise. We broke it. This is us keeping our word even if it's late. You're 68 and 65. You need this for retirement. We need our daughter more than we need money. Mom's voice cracked. Please, let us do this one thing right. I looked at the check, at my parents, at the weight of everything between us. On one condition, I said finally, anything. You put half of this into a college fund for Hope. The other half you invest for yourselves. Real retirement planning, not just savings. Dad blinked. But the wedding is over. Paid for. This isn't about that anymore. This is about you learning that throwing money at problems doesn't fix them. That your daughters needed your presence, not your checkbook. Mom reached for my hand. I let her take it. You're right, she whispered. You're absolutely right. We sat there, holding hands across a cafe table. It wasn't forgiveness. Not yet. But it was something. A beginning, maybe. After lunch, I called my sister, told her about the check, the college fund for Hope. She was quiet for a long time. Then, they're really trying, aren't they? Yeah, I think they are. Are you going to forgive them? I don't know, are you? She laughed softly. I already did, but I'm weak like that. You're not weak. You're just not me. Thank God for that. One of you in the family is enough. I smiled. Actually smiled. Love you, sis. Love you too. That night, Theo found me staring at the wedding photos we'd had framed. Our perfect, expensive, spite-fueled wedding. I looked happy in the pictures. I'd been happy, but also hollow. Victory, without peace. Regret it? Theo asked. The wedding? No. The way I got there? Maybe. You did what you had to do. Did I, though? Or did I just perpetuate the cycle in a different way? They played favorites and kept score, so I played favorites and kept score right back. You also saved your sister when no one else would. After making her suffer first. Theo pulled me close. You're human. You made choices out of hurt. But you also made choices out of love. Both things can be true. I leaned into him. When did you get so wise? I married you, didn't I? That's pretty wise. 2 years passed. My sister's design business grew. She hired an assistant, rented a small office space. Hope turned 3, started preschool. My parents babysat twice a week, picked her up from school. Slowly, carefully, we rebuilt something that resembled a family. Not the family I'd grown up in. A new one. More honest, more balanced. Mom and I met for coffee monthly. We talked about work, about hope, about everything except the past. Dad joined my company softball team, cheered embarrassingly loud from the stands. They remembered my birthday, sent thoughtful gifts, showed up. It wasn't perfect. Sometimes I'd see them doting on Hope and feel that old resentment creep in, the little girl inside me who'd never gotten that kind of attention. But I was learning to sit with it, acknowledge it, let it pass. One Sunday, the whole family gathered at my sister's apartment for Hope's 3rd birthday. There was cake and balloons and too many presents. Hope ran around with frosting on her face, delighted by everything. I stood in the corner, watching. My sister approached, handed me a glass of wine. You okay? She asked. Yeah, just thinking. About what? About how different this could have been. If I'd said yes when you asked to use my wedding venue. If I'd turned you away when you needed help. If I'd never answered that letter. My sister considered this, but you didn't. You made the choices you made. And here we are. Here we are, I echoed. Mom called everyone together for cake. We sang happy birthday off-key. Hope blew out her candles with help from my sister. She wished for a puppy. Everyone laughed. As I watched my parents smile at their granddaughter, I realized something. They'd never learned to be good parents to us, but they were learning to be good grandparents to Hope. And maybe that was okay. Maybe people could change, even if the change came too late to undo the damage. After the party, Theo and I drove home in comfortable silence. At a red light, he reached for my hand. Happy? He asked. I thought about it. Really thought. Yeah, I think I am. Even with everything. Because of everything. The wedding, the revenge, the reconciliation. All of it. It made me who I am. The light turned green. We drove home to our house. Our life. Our hard-won peace. That night, I drafted a letter to my parents. Told them I forgave them. Not because they deserved it, but because I deserved to stop carrying the weight of their failures. I told them I loved them, despite everything. That I saw their efforts and appreciated them. That we could move forward together. I showed the letter to Theo before sending it. You sure? He asked. No. But I'm doing it anyway. I mailed it the next morning. Mom called 3 hours later, crying so hard I could barely understand her. Dad got on the phone, voice thick with emotion. Thank you, he kept saying. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Don't thank me, I said. Just keep showing up. We will. We promise. And they did. 5 years later, I stood in this same living room, watching Hope play with her baby cousin. My sister had met someone good this time. A kind man who worked as a teacher and loved her for exactly who she was. They'd gotten married at a small courthouse ceremony. No drama, no competition, just joy. My parents were there. along with his parents. Everyone got along. It was almost boring in its normalcy. Theo and I had welcomed twins 6 months ago, a boy and a girl. My parents visited weekly, splitting their time evenly between their grandchildren. They sent equal birthday gifts, equal Christmas presents, equal everything. Overcompensating maybe, but trying. Sometimes I caught Mom watching me with the twins, tears in her eyes. I knew she was thinking about everything she'd missed with us, the moments she'd let pass, the love she'd divided instead of multiplied. But she was here now. They both were. And that had to count for something. The wedding photos still hung in our hallway. My expensive, elaborate, perfect revenge. I passed them every day. Sometimes I'd stop. Remember how it felt to watch my parents realize what I'd done, the satisfaction, the hollow victory. I didn't regret it, exactly. It had been necessary, in its way. The final explosion that destroyed the old family dynamic and forced us to build something new, but I was glad we'd moved beyond it. One evening, my sister and I sat on my back porch while our children played in the yard. Hope was teaching the twins how to catch fireflies in a jar. Do you ever think about that day? My sister asked. The day your venue flooded and I called begging for help? Sometimes. Do you wish you'd said yes? No, you needed to hit bottom. We both did. Otherwise, we'd still be playing the same games. She nodded slowly. I'm grateful. For everything. Even the hard parts. Me too. We sat in silence, watching Hope show the twins how to carefully release the fireflies, teaching them gentleness, kindness, all the things we'd had to learn too late. Do you think we're breaking the cycle? My sister asked. Or just perpetuating it in a different way? I think we're trying. That's more than our parents did. That's not fair. They're trying now. Now, after almost destroying both their daughters. Better late than never, I guess. My sister laughed. You're still angry. A little. Maybe I always will be. But I'm also happy. Both things can be true. Both things can be true, she repeated. I like that. As the sun set, Theo called us in for dinner. We gathered around the table, all of us. Parents, children, grandchildren. A family built from the broken pieces of the one we'd had before. It wasn't perfect. There were still awkward moments. Old wounds that twinged. But it was real. Honest. Built on truth instead of pretense. Over dinner, Dad told a terrible joke. Everyone groaned. Hope asked if she could have a puppy for the 100th time. My son threw peas on the floor. My daughter laughed. My sister wiped her husband's face where he'd gotten sauce. Mom helped clean up the mess. It was mundane, beautiful. Everything I'd never had as a child. After dinner, while washing dishes, Mom touched my arm. Thank you, she said quietly. For what? For giving us another chance. We didn't deserve it. No, I agreed. You didn't. But Hope deserves grandparents. And my kids deserve them too. So here we are. Here we are, she echoed. Later, after everyone had left, I found the letter my sister had written 2 years ago. The one that had changed everything. I reread it, remembering the person I'd been when I first opened it. Angry, victorious, hollow. I'd come so far since then. We all had. I thought about that expensive wedding, the revenge, the satisfaction of watching my parents squirm. It had felt so good in the moment, so righteous. But it had also cost me years of relationship with my family, years I'd never get back. Was it worth it? Maybe, maybe not. But it was done. All I could do now was move forward with the family we'd built from the ashes. Theo found me sitting on the floor, letter in hand. You okay? He asked. Yeah, just thinking about how different things could have been. Better or worse, different. Maybe everything had to happen exactly as it did to get us here. He sat beside me. No regrets? I thought about it. Really thought. One. What's that? I wish I'd talked to them first. Before the wedding, before the revenge. Wish I'd given them a chance to choose differently. Would they have? Probably not, but I'll never know. Theo pulled me close. You did the best you could with what you knew at the time. That's all any of us can do. We sat there on the floor, surrounded by the life we'd built. The family we'd chosen, the peace we'd fought for. My phone buzzed. A text from my sister. Thank you for today. Hope had the best time. Love you. I texted back. Love you too. Another text came through. This one from Mom. Today was special. Thank you for letting us be part of it. We love you so much. I stared at the words. 2 years ago, I wouldn't have believed them. Now I did. Not because they'd earned complete forgiveness, but because I'd chosen to believe that people could change, could grow, could become better versions of themselves, even if it took decades. I typed back, love you too, Mom, and I meant it. Theo and I stayed on the floor until the moon rose, talking about everything and nothing, about our kids, our future, our past, about forgiveness and revenge and the complicated space between them. Do you think our kids will resent us someday? I asked. Probably. All kids do. The question is whether we'll handle it better than our parents did. We will. How can you be sure? Because we're choosing to learn from their mistakes, instead of repeating them. He kissed my forehead. When did you get so wise? I married you, didn't I? That's pretty wise. He laughed. Hey, that's my line. We eventually made it to bed. As I drifted off, I thought about the story of our family, how it had almost ended in permanent fracture, how revenge had given way to reluctant reconciliation, how hurt had slowly, painfully transformed into healing. It wasn't a fairy tale. There was no perfect ending, just people doing their best, failing often, trying again, learning, growing, choosing each other over and over, even when it was hard. My expensive wedding had bought me satisfaction, but cost me peace. My sister's letter had given me a choice, and in choosing to help her, I'd somehow helped myself. In the end, that was the real victory. Not the perfect wedding or the financial revenge or the moment my parents realized what they'd done. The victory was in choosing to break the cycle, to build something new, to forgive without forgetting, to move forward without pretending the past didn't matter. As I fell asleep next to my husband, in the house we'd bought, surrounded by the family we'd chosen to fight for, I realized something. I was happy, despite everything, because of everything, and that, finally, was enough.